All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's Meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff here, looking at a few severe thunderstorms as we continue on here on this very hot and muggy Thursday evening. Just kind of popping on here for a little bit, kind of in that weird in-between time. Our 9 o'clock newscast on Channel 49 is coming up soon, but some of these storms kind of started to get a little intense within the last 30 minutes or so, so thought I'd hop on and kind of lead people into that 9 o'clock newscast, which I think I'm going to stream on here as well. So we're going to be on here for a little while. I just want to check before I get too deep in here. If someone wants to just leave a comment, let me know if they can hear me, if they're having troubles with the audio. That's always kind of the first thing that we check here to make sure that we are good to go. So if somebody could do that real quick, that would be terrific. Until then, I'm going to go ahead and start zooming in on some stuff here that is going on. And we have a kind of a mess of severe thunderstorm warnings up here in the northern part of the area. This is all north of I-74 at the moment. Okay, good. People can hear me. Thank you very much for that, guys. We have several severe thunderstorm warnings up here in parts of Livingston County, McLean County, now starting to head into Ford County as well. I got a lot of folks already saying down here in the comments that there have been some short power outages. Things are getting awfully windy, awfully quickly. So we are going to zoom in on some of that stuff. I just want to kind of give you the overview here real quick. Just zoom out real fast. If you are living in Champaign, if you're living in Mattoon, Springfield, Effingham, Shelbyville, all those places, there really is not much going on south of 74 here at the moment, so not too much to worry about that way. We are all focused up here on our northern counties at the moment, which we will take you back to. Here are our current warnings. I'm going to put up the description of what they say on there, so we can kind of get a grip of what's exactly being contained in some of these storms. I believe the worst they have them warned right now is 60-mile-an-hour winds. We had briefly 70-mile-an-hour winds, so that has since been taken down just a notch. So we're still seeing kind of that bottom level stuff, that 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, which is the bottom level criteria for severe thunderstorm, as well as that quarter-size hail. I'm going to keep this in motion here and kind of show you guys the direction that this stuff is heading. So we'll put that in play here. So if you live in Gibson City, places like Cooksville, even near Cropsey, southern Livingston County there, you just notice this big blob of red, starting to see a little bit of a bow shape on it there. We're kind of starting to see these storms really pick up in their wind speeds, and that's exactly what's prompted them really to these severe thunderstorm warnings. What I'm going to do, now that you have a vision on what's going on here, we're going to take the Gibson City camera in. I will pop that up here, get that placed in. We're going to punch that right in, and I'll take it full screen here so you can see what's going on. Of course, night has fallen across a good chunk of the area. It's not quite, I wouldn't say sunset yet, but with it being already close to sunset, now it's having some thunderstorms into the area. We are unable to see too much definition there in Gibson City, but the lightning, the occasional lightning, is going to kind of help us see what's going on there in the distance. But you can tell there is very much so some active weather going on up there in Gibson City, even some kind of ragged looking clouds there in the distance as the lightning kind of showed us. So that is the kind of the best view we have of some of these storms right now in Gibson City. Pretty electric up that direction. We'll go ahead and punch on a couple of other cameras here real quick. We'll see. I think most of the activity has moved out of Bloomington for the moment. We're going to go ahead and look at that real quick just to see if there's anything we can see on that camera. And I'm not exactly sure what's going on. They may have lost connection there in the storm. Never mind. It's back on there. Doesn't appear to be much going on. We will punch it over to Pontiac now, though, or kind of our final northern camera. Kelly says lightning and wind is crazy in Pontiac with the rain. Hopefully we'll be able to see that here in just a moment. There's the view in Pontiac. You can see the trees moving just a little bit. Nothing super intense, at least on this camera, but according to Kelly, there things are getting very crazy very quickly here, and you can see that lightning really picking up, the camera bobbing up and down. This is a pretty stationary camera as it is, so seeing that one move up and down definitely tells you that there are some strong wind gusts coming in here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it back to the radar here, and I'm going to kind of position us right where we need to be looking here. I'm going to save my camera view so that way I'm making sure we're always in the right spot. And what I'll do is I'll flip on the velocity picture here, and we'll be able to see kind of how the winds are stacking up. I'll go ahead and put myself back on here so we can kind of point things out. As you can see, we'll make sure we have the Lincoln radar here because I think that's the one we want to be using. You can see several of these kind of pockets of intense wind starting to pick up there, kind of one outside Gibson City, one outside Sibley, just kind of some of these darker pinks near Lexington. That's kind of where you're starting to see some of your stronger thunderstorm gusts. Anytime you start to see that pink or even some of that tan, that's when you get to the 60+ range. So where you're starting to see those really light colors in there, that's exactly where your strongest winds are picking up. Sure looks like Gibson City might be taking a beating here before too long as well, from Saybrook all the way up to Sibley and everywhere in between. Looks like those gusts are going to really start to kick up here in just a moment. So definitely the wind threat is the highest with this right now. And we are actively watching this cluster of storms more so than all the others. For the most part, things have kind of behaved themselves throughout the night tonight, and there's not been too much activity aside from the stuff we're seeing up here to the north. Springfield had a pretty loud storm there that was below severe limits for a moment, but this is kind of the storm cluster that we are going to follow through the remainder of the evening. I'll put this in motion again here real quick. I know I've been doing that a little bit, but I want to explain something else on the storm now. This storm is kind of surging east. Now it's starting to dip a little bit to the south. It's kind of got some odd movement to it. Go ahead and put it in motion there. You can see things clearly early on. We're pushing east. Then as both sets of storms kind of merge, it looks like we're kind of taking more of a southeast trajectory. So even though things are nice and quiet here in Champaign at the moment, I would not count on that staying that way for the entirety of the night. Looks like things are kind of shaping up to where the storms might be kind of surging down this direction. Whether or not it actually hits the city of Champaign and Urbana itself remains to be seen, but I definitely want to watch for parts of Rantoul and even parts of Fisher there before too long. Looks like the activity is definitely going to ramp up. Just to kind of note here, as I said at the beginning of the stream, kind of keeping an eye on our time here. We're about 8 minutes away from our 9 o'clock news on channel 49, which I will carry over here on the stream since we have some active weather. But just keep in mind, you're going to be seeing some news content as well. Not always going to be weather the entire time. So just kind of bear with us there. Make sure that you get the forecast, though, during that show. But this is just our way of kind of trying to keep you informed while also keeping with our programming here, because obviously I am going to be needed on those newscasts as well as trying to track things here. And it looks like we have picked up something new on this warning. I'm going to drop something in on it. You start to see that red outline. That means that they have either upped the threat or they have added a tornado possible tag, and they have gone with the tornado possible tag on this severe thunderstorm warning in southern Ford County. That would be right outside Gibson City. We just had the velocity up a second ago. I'm going to put that on real fast here and see what we can see. So that is the base velocity. Starting to see maybe it's just a little bit of a broad thing kind of popping up there. Let's check out the storm relative velocity and see if that paints a better picture. And you can kind of start to see the reds and the greens. There's something broad right there. I don't think it's anything imminent, but we are watching in the next several minutes to see if that does do something. So we are watching a tornado possible severe thunderstorm in southern Ford County, right over the top, I would say, of Gibson City. Aside from that, the storm isn't anything crazy or intense. It's 60-mile-an-hour gusts. It's quarter-size hail, so that's pretty normal stuff within these severe thunderstorms. So it is still a pretty strong storm in its own right. We're going to pop on the Gibson City camera. That's the absolute best view we can get, because if it's going to move right over town there, we are going to be able to see it. So I'm going to pop up Gibson City. I'm going to take things full here, so that way you have a better view of things. And it always takes a second for these cameras to pop up there. The banner goes first, and then now goes our image. So we'll kind of watch this. Again, if you're just tuning in, we have a severe thunderstorm warning across Ford County that has a tornado possible tag on it. So nothing confirmed yet, and it's not enough to prompt a tornado warning, but it is enough to kind of put that idea out there, so that way we can watch it as we progress in time. I'm hoping my Gibson City camera isn't frozen here. It sure seems like it might be, based on the fact, okay, now we're starting to get stuff. So obviously when it's storming as bad as it is, sometimes these cameras will lose connection, but that is exactly what you should expect in parts of southern Ford County, right outside Gibson City and even inside Gibson City, as things are really starting to come down in buckets and you've got plenty of wind. That rain kind of blowing in sideways. Anybody there in Gibson City and just anywhere in Ford County and soon to be northern Champaign County, just kind of hunker down, stay inside, and be ready for this to last for a little while. Elizabeth says power flashing in Gibson City, definitely a thing we're going to continue to have to monitor as we watch these move on through. Again, as we get deeper into the night, these storms in general should weaken a little bit, but obviously not the case just yet. Gibson City would definitely claim that this is no weak storm whatsoever. So we're just watching things as they barrel into town. There are plenty of heavy rain. Even, I believe, have a flood watch up this direction. I don't think it carries over into Ford County necessarily, but the idea is that with storms like this moving as slow as they are, and you get rain like this to last for a little while, it's definitely going to pile up your rain awfully quickly there. Keep an eye on radar here on the side as well. And that line of storms is definitely going to hit northern Champaign County by the time we get to the 9 o'clock newscast. So heads up for places like Rantoul, Fisher, Gifford, Thomasboro before too long. Nice flash of lightning there in the Gibson City camera. What you're seeing on this camera right now is exactly what you should expect in those towns that we just listed. So that is what we are monitoring here at the moment. Again, about 5 minutes until our 9 o'clock newscast. We're going to keep the digital portion of our streaming here. We're going to keep that up during the newscast. So again, it's not going to be all weather, but we want to kind of keep you in the loop as much as possible here, even with our programming the way it is. So we'll do a reset here back to our radar image, and you will see the warnings staying up there around at 74 and to the north, but really diving south very quickly as we get deeper into the night here. And I'll bring myself back on screen, and you can start to see, even with this line of storms, that's what we're dealing with right now, but some redevelopment out there south and east of it, parts of Vermilion County, eventually going to get in on that action north of Danville. I definitely want to be ready up that way for some development. It doesn't look like anything severe just yet, but of course, every storm starts with something, so we need to watch kind of those those leading edges of some of these storms. But again, the big thing right now is that tornado possible severe thunderstorm warning that is on its way into Champaign County. This very well could be off to the east of town, maybe closer to the St. Joe Ogden area by the time it actually gets as far south as what it's going. It's got an eastward trajectory to it as well. So we are keeping an eye on that. Looking at the comments on the side, Gibson City sounds like it is starting to lose power very quickly. Power out in Gibson City, according to Sam. Cole says power out in Sibley as well. So that is definitely becoming a problem with some of those strong gusts. I wouldn't be surprised if they're upwards of 60 miles an hour. And Dustin says sirens going off in Gibson City. I believe that might just be every town kind of has their own thing for sirens. I've got multiple people saying sirens in Gibson City right now. So I'm going to kind of keep an eye on my messages here and see if that is related to anything that I don't already know. Again, every town, every city, every kind of township has their own way of whenever they put those sirens out, it's different criteria. It's not universal. It could very well be for the fact that it's a tornado possible storm. So again, I'm a little bit in the dark on that. If anyone has any info on that, that would be great to pass along. But I, of course, understand that probably not everybody knows what's going on. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take about a 2-minute break here so that way we can get set up for a 9 o'clock newscast. I'm going to mute my microphone for just a moment. I'm going to keep the radar up. But we are not going anywhere. We are just preparing for a 9 o'clock newscast. It's going to take about 2 or 3 minutes to segue into that, but we will keep you updated here. So give us just one moment and we will be right back. All right, activity has picked up here within the last couple of hours. It's picked up so much to where our cameras can't even keep up with it. Gibson City getting rocked by a pretty impressive severe thunderstorm right now. And things are just, like I said, so wicked that the camera isn't even able to stay connected. We zoom in up there in southern Ford County and into parts of northern Champaign County. We have severe thunderstorm warnings kind of up and down Ford and even into parts of Livingston County. But the big thing with this, you see the red outline on this warning. That would suggest a tornado is possible somewhere within this severe thunderstorm. Nothing confirmed yet, but we're just kind of watching for that potential as it moves into northern Champaign County. Places like Rantoul, Thomasboro, St. Joe, Ogden, maybe even Champaign itself need to keep an eye out for things as we continue to move along. Severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 1 a.m. for several of these counties in pink. We're going to go over the forecast and keep an eye on things coming up as WCI 3 News at 9 o'clock starts right now.
Please do your civic duty. Stop the madness. They have not proven any charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Sign the verdict form of not guilty on both so we can all go home.
But in the end, a jury sided with the former Illini star, Terrence Shannon Jr. Today, he was found not guilty on 2 felony charges. Good evening, I'm Karina Rubio. Back in December, he was charged with rape after he visited a University of Kansas bar. This whole week, jurors have heard witness testimony from both sides. That continued this morning with U of I assistant coach Tim Anderson and the basketball player himself. WCIA 3's Amanda Brennan breaks it all down.
In the state of Kansas versus Terrence Shannon Jr., we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of rape. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of aggravated sexual battery.
Those were the words the former Illini and his legal team had been hoping for since he was charged in December. That following an incident at the Jayhawk Cafe in September of 2023 after Shannon went to the Illinois versus Kansas football game. An 18, now 19-year-old said he inappropriately touched her under her skirt that night. That accusation led to this week's trial and some intense closing arguments. Ricardo Leal, the assistant district attorney, went first. He called the victim a typical college student, but the defendant,
Mr. Shannon, he's not the typical college student. He is the 6'7" captain of the basketball team. He's got the NIL deals.
calling him the big man on campus.
He might as well be the king of the University of Illinois.
And saying Shannon can get anything he wants.
And what he wanted September 9th of last year. It's a typical college student dressed to go out for a Friday night.
The defense went next.
This is not about Air Jordans or free stuff. This is about someone's life.
Mark Sutter continued to attack Lawrence police and Detective Josh Leitner.
He doesn't do a thing. The only thing he does is sit in his office and waits for to come in and talk to him and says, oh, you Googled him? You found him?
Sutter didn't like how the investigation was handled. Next, he focused on the DNA evidence.
There's no male DNA found inside or outside of the vagina. That blows the case out of the water. We should all walk in the jury room, vote, come back, and leave. But there's so much more.
Then he once again references Arterio Morris. He's the former Kansas basketball player who was dismissed from the team 2 weeks before this incident. That's because he was charged with rape, but that was later dropped. In the end, jurors sided with Shannon. His response so far, only this video.
You set the trend. Ooh, talk heavy, George. Because you don't want who God put in position to lead this generation. You don't want who God put in position to lead your family.
We've
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff.
All right, taking a look outside now in Champaign, where the storms are on their way. I can even start to hear the rain on the studio roof here. You can see in the distance, things are starting to get awfully rainy here, although relatively calm right here immediately in Champaign at the moment. Popping up our radar picture, we can see, though, there's plenty of activity just about to enter into town. You can start to see this radar picture really fill out here, watching just as development continues, now including parts of Champaign County all the way into Vermilion County, pretty much just from Champaign over to Danville. You have a severe thunderstorm warning right now. It's pretty bottom line stuff, 60-mile-an-hour winds, close to that quarter-size hail, but we're still watching a storm up to our north up there in Gibson City. It has, or I should say Ford County in general, it has a tornado possible tag on it. We're continuing to progress through that. Not sure what the status of that is, but rain is really starting to fill on in and probably not as high of a threat as what it once was. We do also, though, have meteorologist Jacob Dickey out in the storm tracker. I'm going to get him pulled up here. Jacob, let us know where you are at, where you are heading, and what exactly you're seeing where you are right now.
Hey, Seth, it's a little dark up here right now. We're on the west side of Rantoul, and I can see a lot of dust getting blown up. The leading edge of the wind is here, and so it kind of looks a little bit hazy right now. And that's the dust from this leading edge of wind that's coming on through. As I turn around here, you'll get maybe a better view of that as I look more to the south and head towards town. It kind of has that hazy, dirty look to it. It's pretty impressive to see here, this leading edge of wind and how it's blowing a lot of dust up in front here. I think also had a report come from Gibson City a few minutes ago of some 60-mile-per-hour winds up there. And so these are going to be some strong wind producers as they surge through Champaign and Vermilion County. Reporting in the Storm Tracker, Seth, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacob, appreciate the update. I just want to bring up the radar picture here one more time. Talked about that tornado possible tag. We're going to zoom in on stuff here. I'm just going to kind of show you the velocity here in just a moment. I can make sure that, there we go, stuff's on max 2 there. So we are going to show you the velocity and kind of what we're seeing there at the moment and kind of get down into that stuff. You can start to see some of those pockets of pink just kind of mixed in with that green, and that's where you start to see some of that broad rotation. So not quite as good as what it looked earlier, but still something to monitor going forward. So the way things are right now, severe thunderstorm watch for those counties in pink, which there are several of them, and the new ones added to this south of I-72. Those are now until 1 a.m., so really have to watch for a little while here on some of these storms. Storm Prediction Center still continues the risk. It's a slight risk, but as we've seen, some of those strong gusts are going to continue here over the next several hours. And what's going to be the big thing moving forward is still the strong winds and the hail possible as well. Although the tornado threat, we've seen it. There is one out there. We need to make sure we continue to monitor that as well. Future track models haven't done great of depicting stuff, but basically what you need to know moving forward is that we are going to continue to see some of those storms that might pulse up, pulse down a little bit there throughout the night. So it's just going to kind of be a little bit of a back and forth as we continue through the nights here, but watching for mainly that strong wind threat as well as the chance for hail popping up into the forecast as well. All right. Let's look at your 7-day forecast, because one things are taken care of today is going to be pretty easy to get through the rest of the week as far as the active weather goes. It's just the heat that is really going to be a tough thing to deal with. As you see, the upper 80s are still around tomorrow, and then the rest of the upcoming week still mid to upper 90s. We'll gladly kind of keep the storm chances away, but man, it'd be nice to keep the heat away as well.
Hopefully after that, we can not see it for a while.
Just calm things down and get rid of it. That's right.
All right. Thanks, Seth. We'll be right back with your national news after the break.
Okay, apologies, folks, for that taking just a little bit of time. We've got lots of moving parts here when it comes to putting on those newscasts and then some stuff to take care of after. We are now back on. Let me get rid of that tag there across the bottom. Thank you for your patience. It just timing-wise, that was pretty unlucky timing for us to have things really ramp up just before the 9 o'clock newscast because I want to make sure I get you guys the coverage as you need it. But of course, I can't be talking on the stream as that newscast is happening. So it's just some unfortunate timing there for a little bit. But we are back on right now, and there is a lot that has happened since the last time that we were back on here. And I want to make sure real quick, I'm going to put my screen on full. I need to make sure I'm going to chat with Jacob here in just a moment. I need to make sure his audio is on and working so that way when we throw to him, we are all good. So I am going to make sure that Jacob is queued up here. It looks like his shot's kind of coming in and out. So I'm going to see if I can get some more consistency on his image real fast. And it looks like we should be good. His image is coming in pretty good there. I'm going to turn on his audio. Jacob, your audio should be on the stream right now. I'm going to get your picture pulled up here. And I just want you to kind of let the folks at home, just let them know what you are seeing and where you are heading right now.
Yeah, hey, Seth. We are heading north on Route 47 now, left Fisher a little bit. Had some limbs down in town. And as we're moving north, the reports have been coming into Gibson City, where there's been some problems up there. So we're coming into town a little bit now. We've got reports of some pretty significant damage in Gibson City here. Some trees down, power lines down. Had a report of a tree on a home on the south side of town. And we've had those reports all over here. I talked to my dad, and he's in Gibson City. He said there were power lines down on multiple places in town. Many streets were impassable because of trees down. And he's just asking if folks can stay home there. There have also been a number of reports of trees down in the Paxton area and in the Elliott area. There was likely some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds coming on through. The other thing, reports here coming up in a little bit in Ford County on Route 47, there are trees down over the road on 47. So I see some crews ahead of me, probably trying to move those out of the way. Some pretty significant wind damage in this area for these storms that are coming on through. So we will check back here probably in a little bit, Seth. And just so you know, Seth, I can hear myself in the earpiece because you've got my audio up in the studio. But if you've got your IFB on, then we can kind of chat a little bit more and talk about things too here, because I'm probably no more than just 3-4 minutes away from Gibson City. So Seth, with that, in Ford County now, coming into the south side of Gibson City, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacob, thank you very much. Just trying to piece some of these audio things together. I've got, it's just me in the studio right now. I do also have one of our interns for the summer in here with us as well, but obviously we need to make sure stuff is moving around here just a little bit. We're just kind of getting him going on some stuff, bringing him in here to watch some severe weather coverage. So we are still kind of running the show by ourselves in here right now. And let me fix a couple things real quick because I've got some routing issues here. Just want to make sure I have my radar picture in, which we now do. So we will start just kind of looking at where things are here at the moment. And Jacob, I do have my IFB on, so anytime you need to let me know something, it should be good to go as long as you are just making sure that I am set to hear it. So we are good there. I am going to bring myself back on screen here in just a moment. That's Jacob's picture, so let me make sure I got things back in. Jacob, you need brought back up again here real quick. Do you have anything new?
Yeah, so I'm coming up to a farm here, and I know there's a tractor on this side. I actually got a message from the owners here. This is the horse farm, and there are some trees down here between these two farmhouses. This is 2 miles south of town. Kind of looking at the distance, a number of other places don't have the lights on, so I wanted to point this out here. And going to just kind of drive on through.
Okay, Jacob, thank you for that. So obviously all kinds of stuff going on here. Those storms.
See if we can kind of swap this. We see if we can spot these things coming on through here. And you can kind of see a lot of tree damage down the road, a lot of different things going on here, and a lot of problems. So kind of parking here and moving on through. Definitely a big bunch of wind damage, tree down here to the left side of the road. So this is on 47 on the south side of town. And so we're going to continue to move north into town, where we've got more reports of some power outages and trees down here in Gibson City. Seth, I'll talk to you here in another couple of minutes, and we will see what happens.
Okay, Jacob, thank you again for that report there. Always good to see what's on the ground there with the storm tracker. So obviously plenty of that wind damage is being reported here so far. I just kind of want to bring you guys back in here, just kind of reset things. I know it's been a little while since I have talked to you last year on the stream. Right now, here is where our storms are. They're about to exit off to the east, but they still haven't really lost too much in their intensity. I just want to make sure that I'm getting Lincoln's radar in here because it takes the nearest one. So that's what we're seeing right now. Obviously, warnings kind of just encapsulating whole counties here at the moment because of with those gusts. They just want to make sure they're getting the whole area circulated. So Champaign, Vermilion, Iroquois, even over into most of our Indiana counties, we just basically have a mess of storms that the best thing we can pretty much say about them is expect things to be pretty gusty, expect some pretty heavy downpours at times as well because these storms are very slow moving. Like I said, it's just kind of a mess here right now. There's some gusts tied in here and there, but overall, it is a pretty messy looking setup here. What I want to do is I want to show you some of the rainfall totals we've seen too, because obviously the wind damage has been a big deal, but we've noted some very torrential downpours with some of this stuff too. I'm just going to put on the last 3 hours worth of rainfall totals. And keep in mind, even though this is over the last 3 hours, some of this happened within just 1 hour here. So we'll let this graphic populate real quick. It'll take just a little bit and you can start to see kind of that swath start to pop up here. And do have a dot of yellow up there in McLean County. So again, this is rain that could have happened in just the span of about an hour outside Colfax, outside Gibson City. We'll drop our marker in there and we'll see, again, rain totals up to 2 to maybe even 3 inches in a few spots in just a short amount of time. So that is another concern on top of the damaging winds that we've seen evidence like Jacob had on his picture there. It is blowing over all kinds of tree limbs. It is knocking out the power as well. And speaking of that, I'm going to take a look here at our power outage numbers because that is something that we really need to keep an eye out for as well. And this has been lagging behind just a little bit. From what I've heard in the comments, people have been having power go out and then having it restored somewhat not too long after. And what I'll do, I think I can let you see what's going on here as well. So I'm going to switch where I have my graphics inputted real quick. Jacob, can you repeat that? You're kind of cutting out my earpiece here. Okay, I'll see if I can get Jacob back here. But what I want to do real quick, I want to show you the power outage numbers, which I believe I now have popped up on the screen behind me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in on that. My apologies there, didn't want to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pull those full screen and you will be able to see kind of what I'm detailing through here. Up there into Ford County, your power outage numbers are right around that 1,250 mark. So lots of people without power up that direction. Livingston County, about 2,800 people without power right now. So those gusty storms really did a number as they moved on in there. So some big problems up that direction. Some people have gotten theirs back from the sounds of it in the comments, but it sure seems like a lot of people are still missing theirs. Not quite as bad as over there in some of those other counties. So Jacob is letting me know he needs visual on his shot here. So let's get him pulled up real fast and we'll get his audio going. Jacob, all yours. What are you seeing?
Hey, Seth, we're in the storm tracker right now, and the stoplight has been pretty much destroyed here in Gibson City.
Jacob, we've got you pulled up. You are good to go with whatever you have.
Hey, my audio, Seth, just so you know, on ClearCom at the very bottom so you can hear me, flip the switch on the last one. That'll allow you to hear my mic in your ear. I think I'm getting through online. Right now, I'm pressing the microphone button to talk directly to your earpiece, but so you want to just make sure you can hear me that way and see. The stoplight has been blown down here, and city crews are working on through. I did notice down on Highway 54 southwest of town, it looked like there was a lot of backed up traffic, and I think there's probably some trees down there about 1.5 miles southwest of town. 2 miles south of Gibson City, there are trees down. I also drove past Harvest Moon Drive-In. Their fence has been blown down, and they've had some damage to their property as well from the wind here. So a lot of crews are going out and assessing things here. The stoplight, victim to the wind here. You can it's blinking green and red. You see that, Seth? We are just going to be moving right into town and seeing a little bit more damage here. I'll be heading to North Park. I've heard at 4th and Gray there's some damage, and we'll be checking out some other places as well here as we figure out some of this wind damage has really ripped through the Gibson City area. Seth, I'm in the storm tracker. I will let you know in your ear. If I've got something else, we will send it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacob. And just to let you know, we've got the audio thing figured out here, so I'll be able to hear you on the side whenever you have anything to show us there. So we've got that taken care of. And apologies again, I've got my graphics a little mixed up here. Let's toss the radar back on so that way we're not getting that infinite time loop there with the picture. There we go. Back on the radar. Let's even move it in a little closer here, and that should be good. Okay, now, again, just kind of resetting things. Jacob showed you all kinds of damage that we've been seeing as far as the wind is concerned. And I want to just bring up real quick, I'm going to read this off to the side here. There's nothing to actually see on the screen other than the radar, but I just want to bring this up too. We had some damage reports across the McLean County area as well. One of their emergency managers reported right around 9 o'clock was when all these happened. Not exactly at 9, but at 8:53, there was significant tree damage in Colfax. 8:54, Chenoa had no power. Some damage was done to an unnamed business. 8:56, Anchor had tree damage and also reported no power. And at 9:03, there was tree damage in Lexington, including on one home. There was no injuries reported with that. And then 9:04, a tree across Route 9 near Cooksville and the Ellsworth Blacktop. So some of the damage reports there, and we've got quite a few here, trying to keep track of all of these while also trying to keep track of the National Weather Service as they also receive reports. We receive reports, they receive them as well, and try to communicate that to all the media outlets so that way we can relay stuff as well. But you can see the big picture. Anyone that's had storms right now has really reported some pretty significant wind damage, and that's the problem with some of these storms. That's kind of the messaging we've been trying to put across there with these storms tonight, is that they really have been packing a punch. Those 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts. That is often what can cause the most widespread damage. You have those tornadoes that obviously cause significant damage to a small area, but it's these widespread things. When you start to get these bowing storms to move on out, that's when it becomes really widespread. Maybe not quite as bad as a tornado in one particular spot, but all up and down that line like we've seen. Big branches down, some trees across the road, some power lines down, lots of power outages. That's exactly what you get with these kind of wind events. Just to zoom out and show everybody else right now, a lot of us not seeing much activity. Champaign, Danville, even in parts of Watseka, you are still in the middle of this. We'll continue to cover that as we move the next couple of hours. But a lot of the rest of us right now are not seeing much and probably won't see much for at least a little while. Places like Mattoon, Effingham, Taylorville, Springfield, Decatur, Lincoln, all those places really have nothing going on in that direction. So that's why we're really focused over here on the northeast side of everything as we continue to see these storms push on through. Again, it looks like they've come down a little bit in intensity as they continue to push off into Indiana. But that does not mean the threat is not there, because even if it's 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, we have seen what that can do so far this evening. What I want to do is I want to pull on our velocity picture and show you where the winds stand at right now, just kind of how strong things are, and make sure we get the Lincoln radar one to detect this. Now, keep in mind, the Lincoln radar is pretty far away from where all this is, so we're looking pretty high up in the atmosphere at some of these gusts. You start to see some of these pinks. That's equivalent to about 60, maybe even 65-mile-an-hour winds. So we're still seeing a few of those out there. Overall, things have come down just a little bit. Not seeing a ton in the way of any kind of rotation. That has been a little bit of a problem. We can kind of see some disorganization within some of these storms, but nothing really too big to worry about here right now. So that is a look at the velocity picture. We'll put things back on regular radar here right now and just kind of show you everything that's going on. Champaign all the way out to Danville, even over into the Indiana portion of the area, the Petersburg area, starting to probably get in on the action soon. Eventually out there into our Indiana viewing area is where we are starting to see some of that storm activity. Let's go ahead and bring up one of our sky cams. I'm going to show the Danville camera here once we get that populated in, because I know Danville looks like the spot that's about to get hit hardest the next. So let's go ahead and pull them up there and kind of see what is going on that direction, if things have started yet. It's kind of the calm before the storm. You can see the trees moving around a little, and there's nothing calm about that lightning that you just saw in the background. So it's not doing anything actively yet, but you can see storms are about to really kick up in intensity there in just a moment. So we'll keep an eye on the Danville camera here for now, and we'll watch as that continues on. I'm going to go ahead and bring that full screen so you can get a little bit of a better look as to what's going on. Again, Danville soon to be impacted there by some 60-mile-an-hour gusts at the least, if not maybe even starting to see that 65-mile-an-hour gust as it pushes on into town. This getting close to exiting the area. The severe threat, at least the active severe threat, looks to be just about to exit the area, but obviously our eastern counties have to go through it here for just a little bit of time before we are completely in the clear for the time being. There is a severe thunderstorm watch until technically 1 a.m., The forecast is still just a little messy. I'll go ahead and bring up that graphic real quick. I wish kind of had better answers with this, but there's potential redevelopment even after this line moves on in. Some of these storm lines are just a little funky in the way they operate and where storms kind of generate and where they kind of stop. So we are going to watch those counties in pink here for just a little bit, and we'll continue to monitor that severe threat, but technically until 1 a.m. for many of those counties in pink. I do believe Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois, yours are only supposed to go originally until 10 p.m. A lot of these counties had these issued at different times, so I want to say most are until 1 a.m., but that portion of those 3 counties up there is until 1 a.m. So the active threat is still right along the Illinois-Indiana border, and the wind threat is what will continue to we'll continue to watch here for the next hour or two. Just a programming note as well, just as it was about an hour ago, we have the 10 o'clock newscast on WCI3 News coming up here in just about 6 or 7 minutes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to continue coverage as that newscast is happening, but what I can do is I can keep the radar up, and I will switch things to the forecast whenever we start showing the forecast on the news, so that way we can keep you as updated as possible. So just a heads up, here in about 6 minutes, we'll be at the mercy of the newscast a little bit. I'll make sure I'm showing you as much of the actual active weather and the forecast as possible. During the actual news programming there, we kind of have to show just the radar with nothing but without any microphones on in the background to avoid you hearing stuff that you're not particularly tuned in here on the digital side to hear. So that's our programming note. So we got about 5 minutes to keep an eye on things here. Again, we're kind of watching this whole system as this front kind of sweeps on through. We're not seeing too much intensity with some of these showers down around I-57, but it's still something to watch. Some storms have flared up, flared back down. Just kind of need to continue to watch those areas for activity. Let's go back to Danville and see what's happening on the Skycam there. I've got Jacob also saying that he has something, so we're going to bring up his picture there as well. Jacob, looks like you got a pretty large branch down. Go ahead and tell us where you're at and just how big that thing looks.
Yeah, hey, Seth. I've seen a lot. There's been a lot. But the problem is that in the darkness, it's hard to show you what it looks like. So this one, the power happens to be on more on the north side of town. Most of the south side is out of power. Downtown is out of power. There's been a lot more lights on the north side here, but we have seen several streets that are impassable. About 5 or 6 blocks south of me, there's actually some power lines that are down on the road here. And as well, there's been multiple spots where there's power outages. And so we are going to loop back and give you a live report on TV coming up at 10 o'clock. Live in the Storm Tracker, I'm Jacob Dickey. Seth, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacob, thank you very much for continuing to go out there and find where some of that damage is. Again, just kind of feels like every few minutes, everywhere you look, you're kind of starting to see that damage really pile up there. So hopefully it didn't get too bad out that direction, but obviously not entirely the case, because we've got quite a bit of that aftermath still. And that's why we're really watching these current storms, because even though things have come down just a little bit, you saw what they've done in the past, and just want you to be prepared for what could happen as they kind of get towards your direction. So right now, looks like the bulk of the storm activity kind of passing on through Danville right now. Go ahead and bring that camera back up there and just see what's happening in downtown. And you can see things aren't crazy. Trees moving around a little bit. It doesn't look like there's a big downpour in town right now, but you can see that lightning still picking up. So definitely want to keep an eye on that. Of course, also, if you are in the chat, let us know kind of what you're seeing. If you have any kind of a damage to report, or any kind of just whether it's, man, it got really windy out here in Hoopston, anything like that is definitely helpful to us when it comes to just kind of relaying that information across. So we are definitely listening to you guys as well. So feel free to chip in and let us know what you are seeing as well. And people saying Danville is really starting to get in on the action now. You can even see the Skycam really seeing that activity pick up as well. So that's what we're going with at the moment. Things probably going to get pretty noisy in Danville. Eventually, we're getting towards the end of that to where hopefully things kind of start to calm down. Many of our warnings are on the far eastern sides of the area. Still technically have a warning here in Champaign. Things are pretty windy. Things are probably still lightning filled. The sky's probably getting lit up, but I think that warning's about to expire as we push on off to the east. So really just kind of watching these Illinois, Indiana border counties here at the moment to see what exactly is next with this line of showers and storms. What I'm going to do again here real quick, just like what we did with the 9 o'clock news. We're about 2 minutes outside from the 10 o'clock news. I'm going to kind of wrap things up right here. I'll make sure you get the actual weather coverage on the 10 o'clock news as it is available. But when we get to the actual news section, I'll just keep the radar on there so that way you have some sort of source to stay ahead of the weather as opposed to seeing the actual news content, which you have the option to watch as well on the television. But we just kind of want to keep things weather only on the weather digital stream. So I'm going to kind of send things to full screen here. We're going to reset, and we will see you again shortly here on the news at 10 o'clock.
First, sponsored by Route 66 Solar.
All right, showers and storms continuing this evening, now starting to push to our Illinois and Indiana border counties. This is what it looks like in Danville right now. Things really picking up. Maybe downtown there, not quite getting in and as much of the action as other parts of Vermilion County. Just kind of bringing up the radar picture here to show you what exactly is going on. There have been some windy storms all across the area this evening. You can see exactly where those warnings are right now. Gotten to the point where they're just sending warnings for entire counties just to basically make you aware of where those gusts are right now. You even have meteorologist Jacob Dickey out in the field tracking these storms. We'll have updates from him coming up as WC After News at 10 o'clock starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
Severe weather is making its way through parts of central Illinois with hail and strong winds causing some damage. Good evening, I'm Brandon Morano.
And I'm Karina Rubio. McLean County saw some of that damage, and now it's in Gibson City. Let's go back to meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff. Seth, what's happening now?
So right now we're continuing to see some of those storms with stronger winds push out there again to the Illinois, Indiana County areas. And what I want to bring up here real quick is some of the damage that we've had reported. Jacob's out there in Gibson City. He's seen all kinds of tree limbs down. I believe there was one across Route 47 there, 2 miles south of town. We also have plenty of reports from McLean County. This is just from an emergency manager. I'll just kind of read this off to you here. 8:53, there was significant tree damage in Colfax. 8:54, Shinoa lost power and had some damage done to an unnamed business. At 8:56, Anchor had tree damage with no power. 9:03, tree damage in Lexington. And 9:04, there's a tree across Route 9 near Cooksville and Ellsworth. So obviously plenty of damage reports to kind of filter through. We'll continue to kind of look at those and also watch out for potentially any new ones with these storms moving off to the east. We'll have an update coming up later. But for now, guys, we'll send things back over to you.
All right, Seth, thank you. We have new information about the backyard barnyard in Champaign County. We told you about the man who was raising livestock in a residential area. He raised chickens, ducks, turkeys, and even pigs for slaughter. The home is
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff.
All righty, well, storms do continue this evening, but it looks like things are maybe finally starting to reach their end, at least for the time being. We look on at Danville, you can still see plenty of lightning out that way, but the actual kind of storm activity there in town, you notice the trees not moving too quickly. There's not too much rain going on there at the moment either. Let's just take a look at our radar picture, see what there is out there right now. As you can see, lots of stuff there just hugging the Illinois-Indiana line, on its way over there into Indiana soon. Vermilion County still probably getting quite a bit of rain, maybe some pretty intense gusts. Same with the eastern half of Iroquois County. Now that warning has been taken out, looks like we just have one here in our Illinois county. So we're watching as all that stuff moves on out. But man, the damage has been done. In fact, meteorologist Jacob Dickey's out in the storm tracker. He has seen quite a bit of damage. And Jacob, I saw earlier, you've got a pretty hefty tree down right there in front of you.
Yeah, that's right, Seth. It has been a hard hit to Gibson City and southern Ford County. We're not just seeing damage here, but there's been some reports of trees, power lines down in Colfax, McLean County, Gibson City, Elliott, Paxton, as these storms rocked on through. Let me turn the camera here and show you one of these trees here. This is just one tree. There are many, many trees like this in town, and this tree actually has some power lines down with it as well. Took some lines down. We actually had an electrical explosion from the power crews who are working. You might be able to see them off in the distance. It might be a little dark, but they're down the alley there trying to isolate these outages as this tree is down across the entire road. There are other scenes behind me in town. We had some messages about some viewers saying they had tree damage and some house damage as well from these as trees have come down all across town. There's been power lines down. There have been other damage. In fact, I drove past the Harvest Moon Drive-In, and they had some damage to, it looked like their fence. There was some wood on the road and things of that. So we're going to keep an eye on things up here. There are power crews behind me. First responders driving around town trying to deal with all of the mess that is here in Gibson City, and we will keep you updated. Some notes, 47 earlier had trees down at 2 miles south of town at the horse farm. That's been cleared. They were out clearing that. So there was also some tree damage on 54 southwest of town as a big windstorm has come through here in southern Ford County. Live in Gibson City, I'm Jacob Dickey. Seth, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacob, thank you very much for that report. Obviously, like we said, plenty of damage out there that direction. We're still watching for stuff tonight. Severe thunderstorm watch does go until 1 a.m. It's starting to look like as that line moves through, maybe that threat decreases. However, one model kind of wants to keep some redevelopment up later on in the night. This stuff wouldn't be too intense, but you just kind of see everything empty out here for a little bit. Maybe some more storms firing up by the time we get later on to the night. Maybe just a little bit of hail with that. But really looks like the main severe threat is kind of moving on through and it's kind of coming gone, but lots of damage still to kind of sift through behind it. And thankfully, that's really the only thing we have to worry about here in the 7-day forecast, though. Once tonight's wrapped up, we don't have too much going on other than the heat is going to be on, temps in the upper 80s and eventually upper 90s by the time we get to next week, guys.
All right, Seth, thanks so much.
Today, people in Decatur enjoyed a festival celebrating community. The Jasper Street Festival was held at John Hills Park. It included art, a live DJ, and free food. The festival engaged with 5 main neighborhoods along Jasper Street as part of the Great Streets, Great Neighborhoods initiative.
We want the community to be a part of the implementation of what's happening
there. So this stoplight's been torn apart. Also, I'll come over to this light here. If you see the light in the side right here, on the side of this pole, that light is actually supposed to be facing to the west. It is facing now south and east. The wind has turned at 90 degrees, and so it's been torn there. And you can see the pole also has been bent a little bit inwards. I don't remember it being angled in like that. So there's certainly been some intense wind here. So IDOT has been out. There's been some trees down on highways. I think for the most part that's been cleared off, but in Gibson City, there's been a lot of tree damage in town. Probably one of the stronger windstorms we've had in a number of years here. A lot of power lines down. Fire department is out. Police have been out, and a lot of city crews. They basically called the whole city crews and said, get to work, because trees down on roads. Many roads still impassable here in town. Lights are starting to come back on. The middle part of town had a lot of power outages. The south side seemed to have more lights on. The north side seemed to have more lights on. And that's because there's actually three different distribution lines here in town. One feeds the south part along First Street, Route 9. The middle part gets serviced by one, and the north side gets serviced by one. And so that middle part really got hit pretty hard here in town with those trees and power lines. We actually had, I'm going to go back and find the footage, Seth. At one point, right before weather, we were looking at a tree down, and I knew the wires were live under that tree. And all of a sudden, they just started arcing and sparking like crazy, and it was pretty impressive to see. So I'm going to go back and look at that footage and see if we can't get that perhaps later on tomorrow. Other things, Seth, of course, Colfax have heard a number of reports from there of some pretty intense damage. Elliott has some outbuildings that are damaged, some trees down, power lines down, and then Paxton also has tree damage, power lines down there. And so it's been a bit of a mess in the southern part of Ford County, parts of McLean County, from some at least 60-mile-per-hour winds that came on through here, probably higher than that. One thing to note is initially I drove by the drive-in set, Harvest Moon Drive-In, and there was a lot of wood debris on the road, and it didn't get a chance to really stop and look. I was thinking, there's some damage there. There is damage to the Harvest Moon Drive-In. It is mainly cosmetic, though. Their fence is down. They've had a few things blow around, but the screens are fine. The snack building is fine. The burger barn is fine there. So all of those things are okay. I think they're going to be having movies, no problem here. But we'll kind of loop around town, Seth. If you want, if you give me a minute or two, Seth, I'll swing back and show you some tree damage that's around the corner here, and you can kind of fill in some of those reports, and we can kind of keep our eyes and ears open for those as well. Viewers have been sending in a dime a dozen as well from these areas that were hardest hit. And Seth, forecast-wise as well, we kind of said, hey, there could be some pretty intense storms that a couple of areas get. That couple of areas happens to be the Route 9 corridor here from eastern McLean County into southern Ford County. Seth, I'll flip it around. I'm going to drive over, and I'll send it back to you in the meantime.
All right, sounds good, Jacob. Thank you very much for that report there. Yeah, plenty of wind damage. It wasn't all across the area, but we definitely saw enough of it in the parts that did get it to know that this forecast definitely did hold up for some of us, because, again, those 70-mile-an-hour gusts were the big concern, because that is exactly what could happen when you see some of that. I'm noticing some people kind of noted there was some audio trouble there early on. We're kind of back in there. We got pretty much all of what Jacob said there. You did not miss anything there. Just as far as what I was saying a moment ago, there's not too much going on here right now all across the area. Radar picture looks pretty clean. All this stuff has gone sub-severe, either that or it has gone out of the area. So really not too much to worry about anymore with any kind of active stuff going on. But as Jacob alluded to, there's plenty of damage all across the area, highlighting it in Ford and McLean County in particular. It looks like the spots that were hit the hardest. And these storms just really kind of exploded there for a period of time. Just went from being pretty baseline stuff, 60-mile-an-hour winds, to boom, they just shot up and had those 70-mile-an-hour gusts that were definitely bringing some impacts there to the area. Again, just kind of want to show where those damage reports have been. That one just outside of Paxton was reported that 2 cars were crushed by falling trees near the intersection of Maple and Center. So some pretty impressive damage just out there in Paxton. Also some of those reports in Gibson City. Just overall widespread wind damage, including down trees and power lines there throughout town. One thing I want to make sure I do here real quick is just kind of bring you over to the power outage map to see what the current status is on some of that stuff. So we'll get that pulled up here, and we'll just show you what the status is on some of those counties out there in the area. And then I think we'll pretty much wrap some stuff up here before too long, with it being that there's not any kind of active storms going on there. So as you can see, Ford County still got about 700 people without power there. Livingston County still just a couple hundred. Iroquois County into the 300s as well. McLean County still currently tracking 3,000 without power. So lots of stuff still going on. Obviously, plenty of cleanup is going to need to be had here into the coming days. But this is exactly the kind of thing that we were bringing up there for a little bit, is that impactful weather definitely made its presence felt here today. And one more thing to just allude to before we wrap up. We do technically still have a severe thunderstorm watch in the area. You might still see it on your phone that your county's included in it. Right now, just 2 places, Vermilion and Edgar County. Effectively just kind of crumble that up and throw it out. The severe weather risk is pretty much done for the rest of the evening. They're just kind of wrapping up on some of these official cancellations. There are a couple of models that just want to bring a little bit of redevelopment into the area overnight, but it doesn't look to be anything too significant. Maybe a noisy storm or two. You'll wake up to some thunder, maybe hear just a little bit of hail dinking on the roof. But aside from that, things are pretty much taken care of for our severe threat here this evening. And now it's just on to the intense heat of the summertime. Got temps in the 90s and mid to upper 90s as well by the time we get to next week. So there's plenty of stuff still to go as far as the heat goes, but at least the severe weather risk appears to be done with for the evening. Lots of damage reports to kind of sift through. We'll kind of gather some of that stuff. We'll have plenty for you there tomorrow morning, but just to kind of report all kinds of damage out there in McLean County, Ford County, plenty of trees down, lots of places still without power right now. And I'm going to look back over with Jacob one more time here, and we'll get his shot pulled up here. Jacob, looks like another branch has bitten the dust out there.
Yeah, Seth. Seth, this is actually a whole tree that is down here. I'll kind of turn it a little bit, and you can see that tree has been uprooted. A pretty thick tree there, at least 3 or 4 inches in diameter, and there are some live wires that are under this as well. This is on 4th Street in town. It's what a lot of different places in town look like. And so there are certainly some active scenes here. There are some electric crews that are working over there to kind of assess some of the damage. Earlier, we saw there were lots of different spots in town. We were seeing crews that were responding to that. I've also been getting some messages. I know south of Gibson City, I've got some friends down there. A couple of the farms took a really hard hit down there. Barb Horsch messaged me and had kind of let me know that they had taken a really hard hit. And then I just got a message, Seth, and I can't confirm the details, but it does sound like that there's a campground 2 miles south of town. There may be some campers that have been damaged from wind and or trees and some problems down there. So we're going to kind of head back to south of town to assess things and kind of keep an eye on things. So Seth, that's kind of my updates here. I'm sure tomorrow on the morning show, it's most likely that they'll have the morning reporter. Mitchell will be heading probably up to Gibson City and get some reports. But we got some other things that are going on in the area that we're also following up with. So we'll keep you updated here and get any last little bits of reports that we have, Seth. So with that, I will go ahead and send it back to you for the last time, Seth. And it's all yours. Take care.
All right, Jacob, thank you very much for getting out there and definitely keeping track of everything there from the damage perspective and the aftermath of everything. I definitely just hope that it isn't as bad as what it looks like it was. But again, there's plenty of those tree branches down, still lots of people without power, lots of stuff to kind of sift through, kind of hard to see everything like Jacob alluded to now that it's dark out right now. Probably going to be able to see the full aftermath by the time we get to sunrise tomorrow, just to see everything that was left behind. But just to kind of wrap things up here, radar picture looks nice and clean, likely to stay that way for the rest of the night tonight. Biggest places hit were the Ford County area, the McLean County area. Lots of reports of just trees over the roads, lots of reports of power outages, and lots of crews out there working to just kind of get those roads, of course, cleared off, get any sort of power restored to folks, because I know there's a lot of folks here that are still reporting that they do not have power. So hopefully we can kind of get that taken care of sooner than later, because now that the storms are done, it makes it obviously a lot easier to get those essential services restored back to the area. But like I mentioned just a moment ago, the rest of your forecast, I'm just going to show you your 7-day forecast here real quick, just to show you there's really not too much to keep an eye out here for the next several days. So we're pretty much done with tonight. The next several days looks like the heat is the one thing that we're going to have to deal with, and that is essentially it. So that's pretty much all we have for you tonight, guys. Again, appreciate you watching and kind of following things with us here and giving you reports wherever you were at. It's always very helpful to see some of that, so that way we know exactly what's going on, where exactly you are at. So, of course, we're going to talk to a lot of people here, get some damage reports, and we'll have plenty of that coming up by the time we get to tomorrow morning. But for now, since everything is taken care of, we're going to wrap things up and essentially wish you a good night. Hopefully everything still went fine for you today. Hopefully you get any sort of power services restored and the cleanup doesn't take too much to get done there. With that, I think we will wrap up our coverage here. Again, thank you guys very much for watching, and we will